All right, welcome everyone to this SAP Community Call. We have Christian Geisler and Markus Kuppe joining us for the topic SAP Master Data Governance, but with them we also have a full house of topic experts, of product experts here that are actually just waiting to get all your questions answered. So it is really your opportunity to raise your questions live. For those of you who will be watching the recording, yeah, sorry you missed it, but definitely look out for SAP Community on SAP Master Data Governance. The experts are also there. And yeah, make sure to join one of the upcoming community calls. This will definitely not be the last one around SAP Master Data Governance. Just real quick on housekeeping notes. Sorry, forgot to introduce myself, Minina Chao from the community team. I'm here to host this session, but also want to make you aware that there is a Q&A button. So here you're very welcome to raise your questions already. It's possible to vote on questions, and we will of course reserve a lot of time to address all of the questions that you have. The chat functionality is there as well. And when we get to Q&A towards the end of the call, please also feel welcome to raise your hand and speak up. So we really look forward for an interactive session together with all of you attendees. Thank you for your time. And with that, hand over to you, Christian.
Thanks very much, Minina, and yeah, also very warm welcome from my side to all of you. Great to see so many people joining, and also a confirmation for us, of course, that the topic of master data governance is yeah, of quite some interest in the community among all of you. And yeah, we also are quite excited to talk about this topic in these times, since we have just announced some new activities and an upcoming product and a new concept in the community and in other channels. And this is also the key idea for today, to have a dedicated community call on SAP Master Data Governance, the extended portfolio with the new upcoming cloud product and additional deployment options which come by this additional product. Just from a content perspective, we have done quite a number of activities in the community. I hope that most of you have seen one or the other blog on the topic and maybe seen presentation, recording, webinar. So that we decided we want to use this community call to really an interactive community session and not yet another repetition of a 45 minutes presentation. So of course, we can not assume that every one of you has all the same information and watched all the same webinars and tutorials and so on. So that I will start with a brief around 12-15 minutes summary of the information, and also in the end share additional links where you can find further information, and also the broader and in some cases or some topics more detailed information for yeah, just for rounding up. So that again, I will not do the full presentation today, but just to bring everyone on the same page, do a kind of brief summary. And I want to start with a picture which is part of our overall SAP strategy, and you will find in many occasions when being part of SAP events and watch webinars and so on. In the broader integration strategy, you see that the integration topic has a dedicated place in that strategy, and we have this integration promise, which also our board members frequently talk about and are featured in many executive blogs and so on. So this is really one of the core topics we are addressing to provide more, better and standardized capabilities in the area of integration. And we have our overall strategy of the intelligent enterprise, which comprises much more than our S/4HANA solution, and obviously with other technologies and applications like the CX clouds, marketing service customer cloud and so on, the Ariba, Concur, Fieldglass and so on. There's a number of technologies which require dedicated integration, obviously, and which we are addressing with our efforts to provide more out-of-the-box and standardized integration capabilities. One part of that are the aligned domain models. I'll come to that in a minute. And of course, on the technology platform, providing the respective services to connect different applications with each other, which content-wise then adopt these aligned domain models. So this one domain model is actually the result of the initiative to align domain models, which came from the idea to have a harmonized language, which all of our applications which are participating in that topic have a common understanding of certain data domains. So we have no intention, and this is also absolutely no business reason behind, to change data models in all the applications to one standard. So Ariba adopting the full S/4HANA data model for a supplier or so doesn't make sense, because there are so many context-specific fields in each of our applications. But what we want to achieve, that we take dedicated care about, on one hand, those fields and content which are relevant for more or all of our applications and are shared between many of them. And also make sure that the translation between each application talking to another application is standardized and out of the box understood. So this one domain model is basically a language, our lingua franca, which the participating applications use to communicate with each other. For the master data governance topic, there is also one key addition to our concepts and thoughts and what we provide. So what we have achieved with our master data governance on S/4HANA, or also in the beginning, of course, on ERP, is that we allowed for an architecture coming from, well, left-hand side picture. Many companies have peer-to-peer connections, many-to-many applications, and sending data across different applications on many typically non-standardized ways. So with MDG, we have allowed for this middle picture to have a centralized governance. So MDG, from the point of view of managing and governing master data and the way how they are created, and sending the high quality and validated and approved master data records from a central MDG application into all the connected applications to consume these related records. And this is also something which continues to exist. So those companies who have a more centralistic approach to managing master data, or maybe for a specific data domain, have a centralized management for product data, as an example. So this centralized approach is absolutely feasible to continue as one of the possible architectural schemes to follow. But what we are introducing now is a more flexible way of addressing master data management in more heterogeneous landscapes. So what we are seeing, that more and more applications, especially cloud applications, come into the game, into the landscapes, and very often not only as additional consumers of master data, but in a role where they also have a certain responsibility to play a part in overall master data management. So sometimes to trigger the creation of a new record, but also sometimes with the aim to be able to have some part of the overall master data management process controlled by a certain application or along the end-to-end process across many applications. And by that, we have more or less carved out the pure integration capability from MDG as a management discipline, and said that the integration capability supported by SAP NDI, Master Data Integration, on the technology platform, to be able to handle all the data movements between any applications and to orchestrate the data flow from any process step to the next process step, and by addressing the topic of letting certain applications take a responsible role in creating content, overwriting content based on definitions on attribute level to control the overall process of creating and changing master data records. SAP MDG is the core application to hold the governance process, and especially also in context of MDG on S/4HANA being responsible for many attributes, or the governance of many attributes in the S/4HANA data models. But here by this carve out of integration, or a kind of split between looking at integration and governance as a process capability to look at the data quality, we are allowing for much more flexible and agile use cases to apply dedicated governance and data movement throughout the landscape, and that for different data models. So to enable all that, we are about to introduce a new product in the SAP MDG Master Data Governance portfolio, which is Master Data Governance Cloud Edition. So this is currently available in a trial version, and I hope that here among the audience, there are also at least a certain number of participants who have tried out the MDG Cloud Edition already. So since last month, we are offering this limited in scope, but for certain processes, able to try out processes release of MDG Cloud Edition. And we are intending to release the first GA version then later in the timeline. There's a close connection between MDG Cloud Edition and Master Data Integration, which is also shown here on the picture. So while MDI, Master Data Integration, is taking care about the data integration, so really making sure that all applications share the necessary attributes of an object and are addressed with the related step along the orchestrated process, while MDG Cloud Edition is the application to hold the definitions for the process federations from starting point, which is managing the core master data. So MDG Cloud Edition is focused on core master data only, which means that data which is shared among multiple applications. MDG Cloud Edition is not based on S/4HANA, and it also doesn't contain data structures like company code or sales org or plant-specific data. This is something we continue to have in our S/4HANA-based application, S/4HANA-based MDG. And the MDG Cloud Edition is really focused on building the overall umbrella application to make sure that all applications, independent of technology and data structures which they use, understand and use the same master data and are especially able to identify the same master data based on the core data, header data, so like headquarter address of a business partner, maybe a text ID, or a core material data in future. So today we have started with the business partner data on MDG Cloud Edition and are planning to add the product data domain then in the next year. So again, core master data is the scope of MDG Cloud Edition, which will allow on one hand for an easy entry to start with master data governance for those companies who have not done anything with master data governance yet. So that there is an easy to consume cloud application available to get started with simple create features under governance, so with related quality mechanisms, consolidation capabilities to identify and create best records, and data quality management to have rule-based capabilities to monitor data quality and to report against data quality and to initiate the improvement of data wherever missing quality is detected. So from the solution portfolio perspective, to summarize a bit the different offerings. MDG on S/4HANA, and there are different deployments on private cloud, so the S/4HANA Cloud Extended Edition, or also the S/4HANA Cloud Private Cloud Edition, PCE. These are all, let's say, the grown MDG capabilities across multiple domains and based on S/4HANA for multiple ways of deployment. The S/4HANA Cloud for Master Data Governance, also called the S/4HANA Cloud Essentials Edition, provides capabilities like the consolidation and data quality management, and can be used to complement enterprise data governance with these capabilities, mainly considered for local scope. And then we are adding now the Master Data Governance Cloud Edition. So the new version, as mentioned, since February, we have this pilot available for trial. Which provides the scope of business partner today and planned product and further data domains then to be seen further on the roadmap, which is the enabler for this concept of federated master data governance, which means that by using MDG Cloud Edition for the core data, the end-to-end maintenance process can be federated out to multiple other applications which control then the application-specific master data, like MDG on S/4HANA, whereas the core data might be 5–10% of the overall data model, maybe 15–20, depending on the data domain. All the rest of, for example, sales org specific customer data, plant specific product data, and so on, would remain in the responsibility of MDG on S/4HANA. And by this federated model, this would mean an end-to-end orchestrated process across multiple participating applications. Cloud or on-premise, in the S/4HANA world, both possible, and obviously also looking at more tight and flexible integration of, for example, the CX Cloud applications or Ariba. So what are we doing in general, proposing with master data governance? So the key value remains absolutely our guiding principle for any MDG deployment, which is ensuring high quality master data across the enterprise. And again, confirming that the centrally managed deployment, which has been possible with MDG since many years in the meantime, is continuing to be best suited for organizations who can manage on a central way their master data or for a specific data domain. And this concept of federation is our new deployment option, especially for more flexible and agile approaches, to have more modular approach to apply governance on specific domains, maybe for a specific context, for a specific applications. So a typical case when someone has multiple S/4HANA systems for operational use, which are not harmonized, but where the federated approach would enable them to start with the easy to consume MDG Cloud Edition for managing the core data, which are valid for everyone, and then use locally activated MDG on S/4HANA without the need to harmonize all the different S/4HANA systems on org structure, reference data, and so on, because all the locally or line of business division specific data is under control of the local MDG. Right, so this does mean that we are offering also dedicatedly a capability with much faster time to value for the more complex enterprises and landscapes, while still providing end-to-end governance capabilities to enable our top line value here, the high quality master data across the enterprise. This is what I wanted to provide as a summary of lots of the information which we are providing in the community in various pages. We have put together here a page, and the information is available to you also with all the links to the related blogs and thought leadership paper and guided webinar information and so on. So this is a lot of information is available here for you. And as promised in the beginning, we want to use this slot here, the community call, especially to have possibility for you to ask your questions, to have an interactive Q&A round. And this is what I would like to open now.
Thank you, Christian, for the lively presentation that you just gave. Very many background information and insights. I see also that a lot of questions came in, and that the team is already helping to answer them. Again, for those that are asking questions in the chat, make sure to post them in Q&A so we can keep an overview, but also for you all to be able to vote. Also now, since we're through with the presentation, it is possible to raise your hand, but let's go through some questions that have been asked. Yeah, who would like to start answering questions?
This is Marcus Koppe speaking. I'm the responsible product owner for SAP Master Data Governance. Let me just pick some, and while the votes are going up, let me just pick some of the list, and then we will see where the most votes are. There were some questions around the scope of the cloud edition. I understand in the way compared to the version MDG on S/4HANA, which can be deployed in a centrally managed style, also as a hub, of course, but centrally managing master data for the complete enterprise. So the main difference in scope is which attributes you manage with the respective solutions. So as Christian mentioned, the cloud edition is meant for the core attributes only based on the one data model, and the MDG for S/4HANA has the data model based on the S/4HANA data model, and in the federated approach to MDG, it will be used for the application-specific attributes. Yeah, but both solutions can, of course, do workflow-based maintenance scenarios involving multiple people. Both can run consolidation processes to get rid of duplicates. Both can detect master data quality in the attributes that are in scope of either solution. Yeah? And there was a side question on license for MDG Cloud Edition. We plan to also license this by number of objects. So there will, of course, also be a license based on the usage of the solution. And then I saw quite some questions around the topic of MDI and how can you connect to MDI. So first of all, SAP will take quite some effort to out of the box connect MDI into SAP applications. So you will see more and more SAP applications being already connected to MDI and can exchange data, master data with each other and with MDG via MDI. But this is, of course, an open concept so that you can also go and connect whatever you like into MDI. The normal way how to do this will be SAP Graph that you connect from whatever source you want to connect to or consumer you want to connect to MDI. You would use SAP Graph. And the benefit is that you only have to do this once for the whole SAP landscape. Yeah? You don't have to connect from whatever third-party solution, legacy solution, or whatever you have. You don't have to connect it multiple times into various SAP solutions. You only connect it once into MDI. So that was the first impression I had from the Q&A. Maybe now let's go along the what voted high and not yet answered. Everybody else, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, the currently top voted question is with regards to licensing for MDI, master data integration. So from independent of the MDG license model, MDI is an integration product which is delivered for all cloud use cases free of charge to the customers. There is a price tag behind for on-premise usage. So if you connect an on-premise S/4HANA system, And for third-party usage, as Marcus just pointed out, this will go through CPI graph anyway, so there is a separate pricing model behind that. And I think I saw the keyword somewhere, ECC or S4. So MDI is currently not planned to be consumable by ECC, or ECC is not planned to consume MDI this way. So that this model of federation and using MDI as core integration pattern is not planned to work with ECC as participants, apart from the way of doing it in a similar way like any third-party solution.
So there's the next high ordered questions here about how will MDI communicate to systems? Can it only communicate to S4 or to others? No, so the answer is no, as I already started answering. We will connect more and more SAP systems to MDI, and the communication then can be REST-based, but we also want to achieve that you can communicate SOA-based. And of course, MDI will be configurable so that it can communicate to the right systems in the right technology. Not IDOC, I would assume. Yeah. Carsten, you want?
Carsten here. So there's one question about workflow. In the trial version, I could not find how to change workflows. Will this be possible? How easy is it to adjust it in MDG Cloud Edition? So in the trial version, indeed, you are not able to change the workflow. It's given, and because it's a trial version, and we cannot allow everybody to do changes in the configuration or in the workflow. However, of course, in follow-up releases, which are beyond trial, so that you can use this in a productive way, of course, you are able to change the workflow. And my personal impression is, so compared to our current solution or earlier solution, MDG on S4 with a business workflow, so we now use the SAP Cloud Platform workflow. And this is from a usability here, I would say much better for a non-technical user to change workflows. So it gives you more possibilities also to, when you are an experienced user, but not a techie, to change workflows.
I see a question from Arumugam. Why would clients choose to have multiple MDG systems? So one for core and one for local data to understand the business case. So maybe just catching up on that and try to explain this use case. A company who has one core S/4HANA system and is probably centralized from industry and so on, or just based on company code structure, sales org structure, maybe has some different businesses, but is quite centralized, would maybe not really go for the federated approach and two different MDGs. So as soon as more applications come into the game to federate a process to maintain, for example, customers across customer cloud, marketing cloud, maybe a third-party system, enterprise S/4HANA, and maybe some subsidiaries S/4HANA cloud systems, then absolutely it makes sense to think about this federated model. And then this one use case I described also as one of our key thoughts about the ability to better manage master data when applying more than just one MDG. Is the situation when a company has multiple divisions, line of business, which are from their nature or from history or from mergers and acquisition not possible to be harmonized on a level to apply one single rule set and validations which are valid for each and every field and object in the same way, right? A company who produces core chemicals and pharmaceuticals and over-the-counter consumer products would probably not be able to have one common set of rules which fits to all. So here we are offering now the capability to leave the divisional S/4HANA systems as they are without the need to harmonize all the org structures and reference data and customizing, but use the MDG Cloud Edition to be able to identify, for example, business partners on corporate level, which are applicable for every division, but then apply MDG governance locally on each of the S/4HANA systems for the context which is used in each division without the need to have cross-harmonization. So again, much easier, faster time to value, and reducing the need drastically for these upfront harmonizations.
And just to add to that, because there was also questions on the TCO of a federated solution and how could this be lower than just one system? It's exactly these points, right? I mean, first of all, we think that the MDG Cloud Edition, which it is a software as a service solution that we think is very easy to consume, so it doesn't really add to too much to the cost of operating such a landscape. And then for the application components, we think that the TCO will actually be much lower because, as you said, Christian, you spare all this customizing, synchronization, the cross-system harmonization, and all this adds to the lowering of the cost of operating such a system, and especially if you co-deploy then the application MDG components with S/4HANA systems, for example, that you already have in your landscape, and then you also bring down the cost for these aspects. Yeah, so all this contributes to the TCO. I just wanted to add because there was a specific question on the TCO side of the house. Is there any question for live? Is anybody trying to do a live question? Mina, do you see anybody raising hands or so?
Yeah. Let's go with the top of the list. So Manish, I will allow you to talk. Manish Mundra, and once you're ready, you can speak up if you like.
Hey, thanks a lot. Hey, Marcus, how are you? We met in TechEd last year.
Yeah, good to see. Good to meet you again.
Yeah, thank you. Marcus, my question is on the transformation of lift and shift. If, for example, the customer is on MDG kind of in-house version, like on-premise, is it they can run the cloud version on the financial objects or some new domains parallelly with the existing version?
Yeah. So first off, in terms of domains, the first focus domain that we will bring to market is business partner. Yeah. So and that will also be the only domain when we launch MDG Cloud Edition. But other than that, of course, they can put it in addition to their on-premise installation. And in this case, most probably not to go for a new domain, but to go for new aspects within their company. Yeah? So what we have discussed with customers is that maybe they have very special parts of the company, recent acquisitions that are not yet harmonized to the rest of the company, while some other parts are based on centralized agreements on processes and one S/4HANA system, for example. Yeah. So maybe then for these newer parts, they want to federate out to a second MDG system that is optimized for these other business units, yeah, and then but still want to keep the track of on a corporate level, not to create duplicates, to understand if they're serving the same customer, if they're sourcing from the same supplier, for example. Yeah, so they would put MDG Cloud Edition next to their existing MDG implementation, and they would then maybe federate one additional MDG systems for aspects that were hard to be addressed with that system that they had before.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Or another use case, maybe if somebody is really struggling to run their corporate MDG system today already because of all the customizing, synchronization, and what have you, they might even decide to split it into two. Yeah, so instead of having that one installation today, they might carve out some of that and put it into a separate MDG box and then federate them with the help of MDG Cloud Edition.
Okay, thank you, Marcus.
Sure. Who's next?
Yeah, Marcus, happy to give someone else the voice to speak up. So next on my list is Manu Singh. So I'll let you allow to talk. Please get ready and speak up if you like.
Hey everyone, thanks for this session. I have a few questions more on the MDI side of it, and the integration. So right now in my company, we are making MDG is there on a co-deployment mode, and we need to transfer data to SuccessFactors and the Concur and the Ariba which are the cloud applications. So SAP consultants are there who are involved here, and they are suggesting S4 HANA to talk to SuccessFactors through CPI, and we have installed ICS also on S4 HANA, and which is talking to Concur. Okay, so I have got two questions here. Will CPI and ICS will go when MDI will be there, and we should be able to talk to SuccessFactors and Concur without using it? Second is my DRF framework within MDG incapable of talking to Concur and SuccessFactors?
So let's start with the last one. DRF is not incapable to do so, but what we send today from the DRF framework in MDG is exactly the SOA messages or IDOCs as defined, with some history in the traditional SAP world. And then maybe we leave too much of the translation work to our customers to bring that to other SAP applications with a different heritage. And that's something we want to overcome with the help of MDI, that everybody in SAP, every application will learn to talk MDI, and it's a journey. Yeah? So we are in the progress of enhancing the one data model to the full scope that is needed, and enabling the master data integration services on top of the ODM model, and then connecting to all relevant applications. So that's a journey, but over time, you will see that it will hopefully become much easier to transfer the data between SAP applications with the help of MDI, and we leave less to the project work at the customers. Yeah, but of course it's doable today with more project work. With respect to are the other technologies going away? So the focus of the MDI initiative is currently mainly on master data. Yeah, so the master data integration, for this we want to pre-think this and build out these aspects. As I said, it's a journey, and so over time you will still need other technologies until everything is covered. And there might be aspects beyond master data that also need to be integrated, and that is where you will also be using sistering technologies for these aspects.
Okay, thank you, Marcus.
Sure. Is there anything on the Q&A panel that we want to answer?
Yeah, there's one question regarding custom fields, whether this is supported in MDI and also in MDG, and then can also be replicated to other systems. So the answer is, of course, we want to support custom fields. So we only are on the way to support that in the MDG Cloud Edition application. That is already quite good, but we still work on replicating these extension fields also via MDI to other systems. This is on our roadmap, definitely, and we hope that we can bring that soon. Definitely, we want to go into that direction.
All right, then I see someone else raising his hand. Manish Kumar, would you like to speak up?
Oh, thanks very much. I think my question got answered with the MDI answer earlier. I was also trying to understand. So thanks very much.
Perfect.
I should have lowered my hand. Yeah.
No problem. It's always good to also hear the attendees speaking up, so it's not like one-sided.
So the next questions I see in the panel is quite a few. It is 4 questions actually. I think some of that we touched base on already. But the first one, I'm not quite sure if we mentioned that. What is the programming base for MDG Cloud Edition? So this is based on the ABAP environment in the Business Technology Platform, formerly called SAP Cloud Platform. So it's ABAP as the basis, and then of course multiple business technology platform components like the workflow and others that supplement this solution. I think this question about S/4HANA talking to success factors via CPI, I think I answered that with the last question already. Okay, yeah, third one, same here. And can we use MDI for custom objects? So maybe something on the principal direction for that. So the idea is that MDI leverages one data model as a basis for integration. And our strategy for one data model is that it's also living in the customer reality. Of course, SAP will provide standard data models as one domain model, but our customers in their own realms can go and extend them, or also define additional ones. Our strategy is to make all these extensions also available across the usages, including MDI. So that's a roadmap topic that by extending ODM, you will also be able to communicate data that is extended in ODM via, or built in ODM, defined in ODM via MDI. Please speak up if there was more to these questions, then just raise your hand and speak up live.
And of course, I mean, the time's running out at some point, but yeah, again, on community.sap.com, I'm posting the community topic page of SAP Master Data Governance in the chat. It's also still possible to ask your questions here and see Q&A from other community members as well.
It's just one more remark from me, Markus Ganser speaking here. So there were several questions in the chat around the concept of federation and how it looks like. So I will post a video tutorial in the chat where you can clearly see the concept view, how such an end-to-end scenario and including the involved applications, how this looks like. So I will post that in a second in the chat.
And there's also a question, I see it here in the Q&A panel around failed records downstream from MDI. So of course, MDI will also provide means to track what happened to the master data. It is a pull, yeah. So maybe also worthwhile to mention. So you push your data into MDI and you pull it from MDI, but there will be means to monitor what has been replicated, if we will, from where to where.
I just see one more question in the panel regarding the descriptions of these aligned data models, the one domain model. So maybe just to point you to the SAP API Business Hub, where there is a section on ODM, one domain model, where all already available definitions for these objects and domains are published, and over time will be more and more completed, and further domains will be rolled out here. So go to the API Business Hub and see the ODM section.
And one more remark from my side. So I'd like to make you aware that we have a dedicated FAQ page for questions around MDG Cloud Edition. And I've also posted the link to that page in the chat.
Nina, do we have live questions, or should we go down the list on the panel?
I think going through the list is definitely
Okay.
Good idea.
Yeah. So I see, can MDI be used to pull data into MDG? Yes. So as I said, when you want to have data from MDI, it is a pull, but MDG will pull data from MDI, and you can of course send data into MDI that shall be pulled into MDG from MDI. There is a question, node development required for SAP MDI. I'm not quite sure. Maybe Nelson, you can speak up what exactly the question is behind that.
Carsten, there is also a question regarding MDI, whether this is intended to replace the integration layer, for example, between Ariba and MDG, which is currently done via CIG and CPI. Then the question whether this would change in future. Again, this is the same answer like Markus emphasized before. It's not that this will replace each and every existing technology, but in the mid and long term, we intend to integrate Ariba and MDG, for example, also via MDI. This is definitely in scope for the future to offer such an integration also via MDI.
I just see a question. I don't see MDG in the cloud platform for my trial account. Thanks that you're already trying to try it out. There's a couple of pitfalls. So the most important one is your sub account has to be in the Europe region, so in Frankfurt. So if you have an account in a cloud platform and you want to try out MDG, you have to make sure that your sub account is in Europe. There's the guide, getting started guide that you will be pointed to when you register for the trial on sap.com. And that you have to really closely follow that trial, because you can't take a left or right turn at the wrong place in the cloud platform cockpit, and then you will not find it. So you may have to make sure, for example, that it's in Europe. Maybe the service is not yet entitled for you. You could also check whether it's entitled for your sub account. If you had that sub account earlier, then we published the service. Yeah. So there's some of these pitfalls. Please refer to that getting started guide very carefully, whether you can find what hinders you there. Worst case, please restart the trial from the trial welcome page.
All right, I think we are at top of the hour for this community call.
Sorry to interrupt. In the chat, there's a comment that Markus Ganser, the links were shared to the panelists only. Would you mind just resharing to all attendees? So, the two links you just had posted before.
So I've shared with all attendees. So I will repost it again, but there was some issue with that.
But again, I mean, the presentation slides, including all the links and the FAQ page link, will also be made available on the community calls page.
Yes,
so,
okay, that's right. Yeah. So on this
but
learn more about
to...
SAP Master Data Governance page, you have all the links. So there is a link to the FAQ page as well, and to various video tutorials and lots of collaterals that you might find useful. Yeah.
Okay, just send it into the chat. But yeah, for all watching the recording, definitely also good to know where to find this information. All right, wow, this was a good call with lots of inputs, questions and answers. So thank you, team, for your time, taking the time, addressing all the questions from the attendees, but also to all attendees. Thank you for speaking up, for posting your questions, engaging in the community in the chat. Looking forward to more conversations like these. With that, we're going to end the call unless anyone wants to, from the panelist side, say something.
just thank you, Minina, for hosting and facilitating. And of course, also thank you everyone for the time, for listening and your active participation. And thanks to the team, of course.
Yeah. Stay safe.
Very cool. Thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy. That's a good point. Yeah. Bye, everyone. Okay, I need to stop the recording.